Take my heart and rip it out, bring it to the other side.
Hey Eurovision fam, it's Alesia Michelle. I'm really excited today because this is going to be like a special conversation. I'm not talking to one of the artists for Eurovision 2022, but I'm talking to one of the producers of one of the Eurovision 2022 songs. And okay, I am excited to bring you here. So you actually produced the song for Greece this year.
Yeah, yes I did.
This is really interesting because, I mean, honestly, I think sometimes when we think of the Eurovision Song Contest, you know, so much of it is, I think Eurovision purists are like, it is the Eurovision Song Contest. So yes, the stage show matters. And yes, like what people do on the stage, sometimes the styling, you know, it matters. It can make a difference. But ultimately, I think we can all agree that like it does come down to the song. Now, yes, the package has to be right, but the core of the Eurovision Song Contest, I do believe, is in fact the song. So as someone who is a producer and whatnot, were you ever thinking that you would do a song for Eurovision?
No, actually not. Or at least not like Eurovision. It's such a big contest, and yeah, I don't know. I didn't ever think about that.
No, I think that makes sense. And you are based in Norway, right? You're from Norway?
Yeah, from Bergen, Norway, but I'm currently based in Oslo, the capital.
I love that. So, I mean, Norway has like a huge like Eurovision national selection, MGP. You know, so, I mean, and I'm sure you being from Norway, just what was it like kind of growing up? Did you watch MGP? Did you watch Eurovision? Or for you, was it more of like, I know what this thing is, but I'm like not really watching it? I don't know.
I feel like some years I've been watching like every show, but some years I've been watching a few. But I feel like most Norwegian people are always kind of updated on who's in the finals and who is the favorites, and people really care about Eurovision, I think. Yeah.
Well, I do think that Norway is one of those countries that kind of wants to win Eurovision again. So I do think we have to be checking for Norway, like in the years to come, because I do think Norway's like, yeah, like we want to do it. We want to do it. And, you know, MGP, I think the quality, it's been so strong and an interesting show to watch, or really even just listen to, like the chunk of songs that have been kind of coming to MGP. But I had to talk to you because I follow Amanda on social media. And so she has this whole like the difference between being like the artist and the producer, like on TikTok and I love those videos. And because honestly for me, like I love talking to the people who kind of create the songs and just what your sort of path is. So in general, like what type of music do you think you're kind of drawn to when it comes to you actually creating in general?
Like honestly, I'm just drawn to music that has some real feelings, maybe, and raw emotions. And I think I'm always drawn to authenticity. So I'm having a background from jazz music, and I've been also schooled in classical music as well. So I think there's a lot of different inspirations, but I feel like what I always come back to is like genuinity in lyrics and strong melodies, which has a lot of emotions in them, I think. Yeah.
I think whereas, you know, maybe in the early aughts, people could say, you know, Eurovision really was about like the show. And then I think even in the 90s, there was a little bit, especially with even a song that Norway won for Secret Garden. I think, you know, I think there are kind of these phases of Eurovision. I would say like in the 90s, I think it was, you know, about kind of the lyrics and the message of a song sort of driving it. And then I think, yeah, in the aughts, we got into like a little bit more of like, okay, the show, like we want to see what the show is. But I do think that Eurovision is turning a little bit now, where we are getting to, I think, an era where we're getting back to authenticity, I think, and stuff that feels authentic to the performers. So I have to ask, okay, how did you first meet Amanda? How did y'all get linked up?
we have known each other like a little bit, or we have a lot of common friends, so we have been like aware of each other for a couple of years. Like 2 years ago, I think I reached out to her to try to, because I wanted to do sessions with her because I obviously loved her work. But then she had other stuff and was studying for medicine and stuff. And then I reached out again, but then she couldn't do it then either. And then I tried one third time, and then we went to this studio up in the northern part of Norway by the ocean, and we called Ocean Sound. It's a really beautiful studio. We stayed there for a couple of days with some great writers who's also great artists here in Norway, and we wrote some amazing songs, and everybody just clicked, and we started making the album, and yeah, that's it. That's a quick version.
I love that, because one of the things that I love about, I think, European production is there is something different from the way that I think American producers sort of have. Like, I think that they come from the music in a different aspect when they come in to produce, whereas I think in Europe there's a different style of just like music production. And I think in particular with the Nordics, there's like this really nice like fullness of sound that I think Norwegian, Swedish, even in Denmark, Finland, I just do think that there's this different way of kind of producing music than like American producers do. So that's why you see so many artists traveling overseas and kind of going to Europe. And in particular, I know like Sweden gets the moniker for it, like with Max Martin and whatnot. But I do think that there is this like fullness of sound that y'all kind of create even in the absence of sound. Because that beginning part of Die Together, you know, where it is sort of something where I think some people would feel like it's empty. It is in theory, because we don't have a track in all of this music, but there's still a fullness of sound kind of being projected with Amanda's vocal. Do you feel like you have like kind of a producer philosophy when you go into the studio? And just, yeah, maybe what do you think about how people sort of, I think, view like Scandinavia when it comes to music production in general?
Wow, that's a big question. I definitely think that there's some things similar with different Scandinavian productions. Although I can't really like point out exactly what it is, but like a theory that you can't quote me on this, but it might be that especially in the US, I feel like a lot of people are really concerned about how things are supposed to be done. Like, and there's a lot of YouTube videos of how to make a Justin Bieber type beat, and everybody's like, okay, I'm gonna be a beat maker, so I'm trying to be able to do all these kinds of beats. But I think in Scandinavia, people are super like concerned about making stuff that's unique, I think. So, and also we are fewer people, and like culture is stimulated a lot from the government because we pay a lot of taxes. So I think it's easier to survive as an artist, and that might also make it easier to be able to try out different stuff. And like I think it's super important to being able to fail, maybe, and like being able to take risks. That might be a possible solution. Yeah. When it comes to like producer philosophy in general, I think I'm a super big fan of Max Martin and his kind of philosophies, and I feel like it always comes down to having clear ideas. Like in a production, you always have a song, but always like the production, that you can remember the production as kind of a picture in your head. And also the other part of my philosophy that I've been talking a lot to Amanda about, which we have like trying to apply to the whole album, is is that you need to force people to have an opinion about something.
Oh, I
If
love
you
that.
Yeah, you like, so my producer philosophy, you have to force people to have an opinion, and you need to trick them into liking it.
Oh, I like that. I
I
like
think
that.
that's how you make good music and good stuff in general. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's so right, and I love that. I'm taking I'm taking mental notes of this, of how you're kind of like dissecting it, but then also reflecting back when you said like, I don't know what it is about Scandinavia. Well, don't, when you figure it out, don't tell anyone, because I think the whole of Europe is trying to figure out, what that sort of intangible thing that I think the Nordics have tapped. Yeah, like where there's just something about the sound, I think,
Cool.
and especially when you listen to like all the studio cuts of sounds and of songs, and you're listening to the studio cuts, you know, I think people begin, and maybe I'm just a nerd, so maybe I'm not
Yeah, I
the
love
general
that.
public, but I think you can tell the difference. Like, just in the production, there's like production choices that I do think some of the Nordics have in common. Not saying it's like the same, because I would even argue, like, I listen to like some Icelandic like artists that do a little bit more like maybe experimental electronic stuff, but I can still get like notes of that when I listen to like a pop Robin song. Like, there does
Cool.
seem to be some type of thread. Well, how was the submission process sort of like for this song? Because I think what Amanda said was someone kind of reached out to her. So I'm assuming that then maybe she asked you, like, hey, like, is this cool? Like, I think I'm gonna submit this song. Like, how did that all like kind of work out?
I think they contacted her, and at the point when they contacted her, we hadn't written Die Together yet, actually. So they contacted her, and we talked about it, and yeah, of course, we felt like, wow, this is an awesome opportunity to showcase like a song, and also showcase the album and the whole project. So we decided to do it, and then we went into the studio to write some songs. And but we talked about like, if we're gonna do this, we're not gonna try to write an Eurovision song. We're gonna try to write a song for the album. But then we wrote this one, and also a couple of others from the album. We sent them in, but they liked Die Together the best, which actually was our favorite as well. So that's pretty fun. But at that stage, it was just a demo. So actually, I spent a lot of time producing the song, because it going from only the vocoder part in the intro, we had that already from the first session. Like, we wrote the whole thing in one day, and at that time we had like the vocoder and the piano. But the challenging part about this production was it going from super kind of quiet, and in the intro there's no reverb at all, it's super dry, until the big last chorus that you've heard, and trying to do that in 3 minutes is actually pretty hard to be able to add so much energy without it feeling like what can I say,
Like
rushed, and
Yeah.
like not carrying the emotion sense. And also when producing, there's always this fine line about having an interesting production and not taking focus away from the vocals.
Yeah.
And especially with the lyrics on the second verse, I spent a lot of time bridging the gap from ending vocoder part until the second verse, where she sings "I love you, say that you love me too," which is such an important line in the song, and trying to switch up the whole vibe without taking focus away from the vocal. That was super challenging. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. With working with Amanda, what's something maybe that you could tell us about her that maybe we would find surprising?
Surprising. I don't know. When we have been to the studio, she always goes to bed super early. So, like, trying to cut vocals with Amanda after 10, that's impossible. Like, and she's like, I'm not gonna do it, and then she goes to sleep. So, but she works super hard.
Yeah.
She's yeah, and she has such a good mentality in the studio, and I really love working with her. But after 10, no.
I love that. No, in my interview with her, I asked her, like, yeah, like, kind of, what do you do when you're not, in school, when you're not making music and whatnot? And she, like, very clearly was like, naps. She's like,
Yeah.
naps are great. I'm like, I'm with it. I take no issue with the nap note. So now that you're sort of being introduced a little bit to this Eurovision world, are you planning to be in Italy?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, awesome. Okay, this is gonna be exciting. So then you will see it all kind of come to life. And with that, you might be able, have you listened to some of the other songs from Eurovision 2022?
Yeah, definitely.
Are you familiar? Well, one, I have to ask, are you familiar with the folks representing Czech Republic? Because there's two, the guys in the band are Norwegian. Have you met them? I don't know. I'm like, is Norway like a small village? It might not be.
Actually, I have not met the guys, but I'm pretty sure I attended a jazz course with Domi.
Oh,
Actually,
cool.
like, that has to be like 6 or 7 years ago in
Oh,
the
wow.
southern part of Norway. She went to this jazz course. I think it was her. Yeah. So that's
Well, we'll
fun.
have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see if the connections are in place. Are you now? I won't ask you to reveal their identity, but do you know who are the wolves behind the mass for Subwoofer? Do you know them? You don't have to say.
I
who
don't
they
know
are.
them, but they landed here in Norway
Okay,
last year, so
got it.
so they are.
So they
actually
haven't been
from
around.
space. Yeah, a lot of
Okay.
people think it's masks, but they're like really
Oh, wow.
wolves from space. So
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
I made sure that I learned the dance. So
Yeah.
at least, I
Yeah.
made sure that I learned the
Yeah.
dance.
yeah, for the after
Yeah.
parties and stuff. Yeah,
Of course.
they're gonna be the kings of the after parties, obviously. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready to be
Or
taken
maybe.
off to space. Is there like an artist from Eurovision this year that maybe, and we can say an artist from Eurovision, but then just in life, like dream collaborations that you could have?
From like in general, or from Eurovision, or
Both, maybe, if you're familiar maybe with like some of the folks this year that you're like, oh, that could be a dope collab, but then in general too.
I really love Maori.
Oh wait, from Portugal?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I love her other music more than her contribution this year, but I really love one of her EPs. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think that's like another thing. I don't know if like a ton of Eurovision folks know that like Motto's like been making music for a while. Like this is not like some, like a Eurovision debut per se.
Yeah.
That there's like definitely a nice back catalog.
Yeah.
There and she just, I think this is fairly recent. The song with Odessa, that's new. Like that's considered new. She just dropped, I think, there's like a song with Odessa and her.
Okay.
I highly recommend. Okay, I like that collab. I would be into that. But then just any in general, do you have like some producer dream collabs?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like the sickest thing would be to do something with Rihanna. I think
I'm into
everybody, or like Kendrick, or like
Oh, dope.
to like do the highest possible. I think it's a super special feeling, or even like Dua Lipa. Like
Yeah.
I think it's a super special feeling, like just hearing their vocals, trying to record those vocals, because those people have those voices that's like, incredible. So.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. Well, I am a Eurovision, video blogger, so I gotta say, thank you, one, for Greece's song. I love it. It's great.
Thank you.
And like, we're gonna need more. So, Norway's trying to win Eurovision. So, just get on in that lab and, you could cook something up real nice for MGP possibly.
Maybe.
Next year. Or the year after. You could take a break, you know, and then after that.
Yeah, well, that would be fun. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with me, and I cannot wait to maybe meet you in person in Turin.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, definitely.
Eurovision 2022, it's here. It's Sunday. I actually am like, I'm not going to believe it, I think, until I have a connecting flight in Germany. So I don't think I'm really going to believe it until I land in Germany. Okay. Yeah. It's happening. It's happening.
It's going to be so nice. It's going to be so nice. And I feel like there's some really, really strong songs this year. And I'm super curious. And I think the odds this year, I'm not too sure about the odds being like
correct
this year, actually, because I feel like the strong songs are super different, and I think the staging will make a great impact on how they're perceived over television.
Yeah, I think the door is open for people truly to make an impact on the stage, but like I've said before, I think Greece is definitely in that running to possibly make an impact, so fingers crossed. High hopes, and we shall see what goes down on the stage.